Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay.
Okay. All right.
Um,
I just wanted to make sure. Sorry. Continue.
that's all right. I think I should like escape though and make sure that I am. Yes, I am. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just gonna get out of the big view and go with the slides like this so I can see more. Okay, so we will be having a workshop next week about what's specific and kind of special about public health writing. And we hope you can come to that. That's at the same time next Thursday, 1 to 2. And then there are articles like quote rarely, paraphrase often, and cite generously. There are two parts to that, and then there's another one called hone your paraphrasing skills. There are also some good articles on there written by a student from a few years ago when he was working on the determinants and strategies paper or project in the PH 720 class. That assignment has changed a bit, but he really goes into some great detail just about doing the research. And I don't think that part of it has changed in terms of, so you may find something interesting there, and it's written by a student, and that's always fun. So I'm going to back up here just for a second. Oh, and talk about best practices. So these best practices. So I just told you about these articles I have about quoting rarely. So when I was a graduate student in English literature, all of my papers were basically built around quotes. That's all I really felt like I did. I would pull quotes and then I would find ways to weave them into papers. And I was quite successful at that. When I got here to the School of Public Health in the MPH program, which I graduated from 20 years ago, I was very surprised to learn that I wasn't really supposed to be quoting very much at all. That what you want to do is save quotes for things that are for wording that's really special. So it's wording that is in a, policy wording or a law or something that you just can't say in a better way because somebody just said it really well. But you want to do that very rarely and get really good at and comfortable with paraphrasing. And paraphrasing is putting information that you're getting from your sources into your own words, and then making sure that you're citing everything that you're paraphrasing. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about in a few minutes, this is toward the end of this session, is using Turnitin Draft Coach. If you are somebody who gets worried about whether or not you're paraphrasing enough, if you're, taking those quotes and really putting them into your own words, or just, changing a few words, which isn't, necessarily good enough. So this is a super helpful resource that we will tell you about. And that's jumping way ahead. So I think, Kristen, now I can turn it over to you and we can talk about Zotero.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Right. So I will go ahead and start by sharing my screen. And I'm going to get started on our library's homepage. So I'm hoping that you've either joined us last week at our session or you've seen me at some point in a class of yours. But the library homepage is a really great place to get started with any and all of your research. But so today I want to show you how you can get to this Public Health Writing Resource Center and then go into the citation guide as well, get to Zotero and show you how that works as well. So if we go into our subject guides up at the top here, I'm going to go to our A to Z resource guides, and these are a list of resource guides that we have curated here at the Medical Library. Some of them are on the broader side, for instance, the citation management or citation information guide that applies to all of the programs here on campus. But if we scroll down a bit, we do have some that are specific to each school here. So I'm going to scroll to the P's, and we have our public health portal, which has a bunch of resources and places that you can go to get started in your research. as well as the Public Health Writing Resource Center, which Jen showed on that first slide. So looking here, I want to jump down to this using and citing sources page. So there are a couple resources that are listed right here. That two-part blog post is available on this page as well. And I'm going to bring us over to our citation information guide. So I'll go ahead and click this. And this is going to bring me to our guide that has pretty broad information on different citation styles as well as management software that you can use. So depending on the assignment that you're working on, one citation style might be more kind of applicable than another. For instance, if you're writing, say, a policy brief or something short, you may want to consider using AMA style. The AMA style of citation will have a superscript number as the in-text citation, and then the bibliography will be the number of, or it'll be the citations in order of where they appear in your paper. So it will just be 1-to-1, 2-to-2, things like that. And I'll show you in Zotero what that looks like, but this can be a really great citation style if you don't want all of that extra text with an in-text citation. Like in APA style, the citation comes at the end of whatever you're referencing, but it will have the author's names as well as the publication year. So that can add to your word count and make your paper longer. So I would always recommend checking in with the assignment, your faculty member. They may have a preference based on maybe what the assignment or project is. But from what I know and have understood here on campus is that as long as you're consistent across the assignment, there isn't too strong of a preference between AMA or APA. But we do have some resources here. So the AMA manual has a couple of books and user guides that you can take a look at. And they also have some resources here online. The online edition of the AMA manual is great. I would recommend looking at that, especially if you're trying to cite something that might be a little non-traditional. Maybe you're looking to cite an image or a video or something like that. Sometimes it can be tricky to know all of the components you'll need for your citation. So this is a great resource. If we move into APA, they also have the APA style and grammar guidelines, and this is really cool. I'll actually open it up so you can take a peek. But what I love about this is I think it outlines very well what you might be looking for. So for instance, if you're looking for paraphrasing in-text citations, you can do that. They have some more formatting information that might be helpful. And if we scroll down a little bit more, they have additional information if you're doing tables and figures and reference lists and things like that. So just a great resource to take a look at. And it's all linked here on this page. I'd encourage you to take a look. The one downside to the APA manual is they only have the physical book copy. They do not have an ebook copy of the APA manual. I believe they do have ebook copies of the AMA. So that's just something I wanted to point out. There's also Vancouver style on here. It's not as popular of a citation style, but I believe there was a specific assignment that asked for this type of style. So there's additional information here. And what I want to get into today is the citation management software. So the citation manager that we typically show and teach here at BU is Zotero. The reason for that is Zotero is a free resource and it's really user-friendly. It's very easy to use. There are other citation managers that you can use as well. So if you have been using Mendeley for years, you can still do that. The one downside to Mendeley is I don't believe they're making any current or future updates to the software. Now that may change, I don't know. But I think over the past couple of months or maybe the past year, they haven't made any new updates. So a lot of folks are finding some bugs and some issues with the connection between their Word documents and the citation software. We also have information here on EndNote. So EndNote is another great tool. They do have a free version of EndNote that you can use. We don't have any institutional licenses to EndNote for students at this time. So Zotero is the easiest one to teach because everyone can access it and download it and get started with it. So Zotero just made a pretty major update last fall to Zotero 7. So if you've used Zotero in the past and you start it up again and it looks completely different, this might be a great article to take a peek at and just shows you some of the new updates. But if you're starting from scratch and you've never used Zotero before, that's fine. You don't need to worry about the updates because it's all going to be brand new and shiny to you. So a couple of things I would recommend doing is going to the Zotero page. And so you can download it here. There's a few ways you can access Zotero. You can download it and just use it in your web browser, or you can download the desktop app. I do recommend the desktop app. They will let you know there's a couple of different um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Platforms?
Platform. Yes, there's another word. It's been a long week. I apologize. The tech part of my brain doesn't seem to be working today. Systems.
System.
So depending, if you have a Mac, if you have a Windows, they have this software available on a couple of different systems. So you can go ahead and select whatever applies to you and your device. So if we scroll down a little bit, they have some information here on kind of what it is, how you can use it to organize your citations. They have this cite and style, which I really like. I just think that's a fun way to give citations some glam and some glitz, right? So the nice part about Zotero is that even if you do use the desktop app, you can still log in on the web. So let's say, you go home for the holidays and you absolutely need to access your Zotero library, but you don't have your computer with you. You can log into any computer, sign in with your account details, and you can see your Zotero library in a web browser. So that's another way that you can kind of keep and organize those citations that you're using. Another thing you can do is you can create group libraries. So this is a really wonderful way if you're working with a group, especially now since there's so much work that's hybrid. This is one way that you can share resources and you can share libraries if you're working on a group paper or a group project or something like that. You can do that here as well. So a couple things just on that page. But once you have it downloaded, um, I'm going to go back to our page here because the next thing I would recommend is downloading the desktop connector. So if we open up this page, this will recognize the web browser that I'm currently using. And this is where I can download the application to my computer. And this is where I can download the connector. So I typically use Firefox, but you can use any other browser that you prefer. They have the connector for Chrome, Safari, Microsoft Edge. They have it for a bunch of different browsers. So the reason for that is this is where that really quick way to cite your sources can come in. And this is where you could use this little tool to save citations quickly. So I'll show you in just a moment what that looks like. But if you take a look, it's probably really, really small up in my kind of connector toolbar area. I have see how when I mouse over this, it says save to Zotero and it has web page with a snapshot. So I could save this web page to my Zotero library. And what it will do is it will pull as much information as it can read and it will take a snapshot or a screenshot of this page. So this is really cool because as we all well, maybe it can be common for web pages to be updated over time. So that's why when you do your in-text citation of a website, it's crucial to put the date that you accessed that page. Because if there's been a new update or a new change a week later, when someone's looking at your whatever you've cited and looking at your bibliography, they can see, oh, okay, they cited this page last week when maybe the information was different or had changed in the interim time. So that's another piece that you would definitely want to make sure is pulled into your citation when you're getting information from Zotero. Um, so let's say I've gotten both of these downloaded. Now I want to use it and see what it looks like in action. And this is the fun part. This is the part where people say, Kristen, are you sure you are not a wizard or a magician? This is so amazing. I wish I was. I read a lot of fantasy books, and unfortunately, I have not woken up on a special birthday and become a wizard. Look at me. I'm just rambling. Jen knows. Jen and I talk books frequently. So anyways, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go back to our library homepage, but I'm gonna open in a new tab. I want to keep my citation guide open, and I'm gonna go on over to PubMed. So I want to show you how you can use Zotero to save citations while you're doing some research. So let's say I'm looking at, I'm really interested in just access to primary care. So I'm going to do a search for access to primary care. I'm going to keep it in quotation marks because I want to keep that phrase together in PubMed. And we can see here a couple of my results. I know this wasn't a great search. So if you came to the session last week, in theory, I'd have a much better search with mesh terms and keywords. But today, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and click this article. So let's say this is an article that that I really want to use in, say, an upcoming project paper assignment. So I go in here, I can see all of this information. It's actually very recent, so it was just last week that this was published. So what I want to do now is I want to go up to my little browser extension that's been downloaded and see that it's now a little piece of paper. So it does change the icon depending on the resource that it is. So I'll look up a book in a moment and you can see what the icon looks like. It will change to a closed book. If it's a book chapter, it will be an open book. So that can be helpful for you too, to see this little icon and make sure, okay, yes, this is a journal article. PubMed is recognizing it as a journal article, right? One problem I have run into before is if you were to open up a PDF of something, say it is a journal article, Zotero might not recognize it as a journal article. It may recognize it as a PDF. And if that's the case, it might actually pull not enough information in. So then when you go to write your paper and cite in your Word document, your citation looks a little bit off because the Zotero connector was not able to pull all the right information. Now, this doesn't happen every time, but it can happen if a PDF that you've opened doesn't have that alternative text or is not screen readable. So Zotero is only going to be able to pull in information that's like text information. It can't pull any text out of an image or a PDF that doesn't have that alternative text. So I know that sounds a little confusing. I'm sorry if that opens up additional questions. I'm happy to try to answer them. But what I would recommend is if you are citing something that isn't that traditional journal article or book or traditional material, so if it's a website, if it's another material, I would recommend going to Zotero to the application and making sure all of your fields are filled in correctly. There's even been a time, I believe I cited one of Jen's books and it didn't pull the right it didn't pull something in right. I forget, I can't recall what it was, but you sent me like, hey, just a correction. It's actually this. So maybe it was the year or it was something. It was the Teaching Public Health Writing book, Jen. I can't remember what it was, but
So
so
thank you for thinking I wrote more than one, but that's the only one. You
so
said
it
books.
was well, so all I'm trying to, say is that Zotero is, while a very powerful and great tool, it's not 100% all the time. So I would still recommend double checking when you can. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So, let's say I want to pull this article in. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to go ahead and click a new new folder. So see, I've created some folders for myself. I'm going to go ahead and actually, you know what? I'll keep in this training. So I'll click done and it'll save that in this citation into that folder. So now I'm going to go over to my Zotero library and this is what that looks like. So I'm in my training folder. I can see it's highlighted my article that I just saved. So what it will do is it will recognize that this is a journal article and it will pull in all of the author information, all of this good stuff that you'll need for your citation. If we scroll down a little bit, they'll include the abstract as well, which is great. If you can see in my library, I do have some journal articles that have this little PDF icon next to it and as an attachment. So one really great tool within Zotero is that when you get when you download it, you have to create an account. I suggest your bu.edu account because you can sync your account to BU Libraries catalog. So what this will do is it will pull in as many PDFs as it can. Sometimes they're going to be open access articles that might be available from PubMed Central or another open access repository. But what's really great is, let's say I want to take a peek at this article. I can double click it and it will open up right here for me. I can highlight it. I can make a little sticky note for myself with a comment. I can mark up this text. So it's another really great way. Instead of having to download 10 PDFs, you can import them here if they don't import already, and kind of mark them up and play around with them in the software. So I would definitely recommend doing that if you can. So another thing I want to show you is the folders. So I often get questions like, how should I organize my Zotero library? It's really up to you and what makes sense to you. So some people, especially if we're talking about the DNS assignment in 720, some folks like to do, PH 720 and make specific folders for part 1, part 2, part 3. If that helps you kind of organize what you're citing and where, you can do it that way. It really just depends on what makes the most sense to you. But there's really no right or wrong way to organize your sources here.
Kristen?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but there are a few questions in the chat, and I'm just wondering if maybe I should interrupt you now to maybe go back to those. So there are 2 people who say, I have Zotero connector, but I don't see that icon in my browser. I only see the little icon to the little icon left to it. And somebody else said that. I don't know what it means. Do you?
So it may depend on the browser that you're in. Could you let me know what browser you're using?
Sure. Asmat or Shamali?
I'm using Firefox.
Okay. And it's not listed right over here?
No, that shows the left to it, the other icon, the left to it, that I have as a Zotero connector.
Is it this one that
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So one thing you can do is if you click this and you click extension, you're going to want to enable this. So that could be the problem. You also, I believe when you're managing your extensions, you can pin them. So if we look at is it preferences? No, it's not that. I do this every time and I can't ever remember how I did it with the extensions. Oh yeah, it's this right here. So if you click that, it will show up here. And then if you're in other browsers, I think it's Chrome. If you're in Chrome, you can pin into your extension list on the side here. If you're in Safari, I can open up Safari. I actually might not have it downloaded in Safari. I got a new computer recently, so I'm starting to see all the things I need to re-download. In Safari, it's actually going to be over here on the left-hand side. So when you're downloading the browser extension in Zotero, it will likely show you where it shows up in the screen. But we do have, if I scroll down a bit, actually, it's going to be this one right here. What is Zotero? This is a resource guide that was created by one of the librarians across town on the Charles River campus. And if we scroll down, he has pointed out where all of those extensions are. So again, if you're using Firefox, it's going to be over here. Chrome, it's on the same side. And then Safari, it's over on the left side.
Okay, so there's one more question, and Mary, we'll get to yours. That will take us back a step out of what Kristen's talking about right now, so we can get to that in a minute. But Helene had a question about creating a folder from the connector icon.
Yeah, so I would almost recommend creating a folder here instead, just so that it doesn't kind of confuse you on where you're saving something. So to do so, you'll just click this little folder with the plus sign and you can create a new folder. So if I wanted to create a folder within Public Health in 720, I could do, maybe I wanted to do DNS part 3 or something like that. I can create that and it'll save right here. If I wanted to create a new folder for today, maybe I'll say public health writing. If I want to just save a folder completely on its own, I'll go back up here to save it within my overall library. So if I create that, now it's just created right here. You can do that in the web browser, but I don't know if I would recommend doing that. It's more so where you're saving it to. If you click more, I actually don't know if you can create new folders from here. I think this would just be adding it to a folder that's been already been created.
Okay, thank you.
All right. How are we doing in the chat here? All right. Yes, and Mary, we'll go into that in just a minute. All right. So so there we go. All right, great. So again, let's say I wanted to save another resource here, but I want to maybe look at a different material. So let's say I go over to our BU library search here. Maybe I'm looking for some background information, so I want to cite a textbook. So maybe I want more information on primary care. So I can do a quick search over here. I can jump down to books and I can filter my results that way. Click apply filter. And, since primary care changes and has changed a lot, maybe I just want to look at the last 5 years. So let me add that in as well. Goodness, there we go. I have to keep moving everybody around. Okay. So, yeah, let's say this particular book looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and click this one. I'm going to open up this ebook. And now my icon has changed. See how it now looks like a little book? So I can go ahead and click this. I can save. Oh, see? It is attempting to save it as a web page instead. So again, sometimes these tools don't always recognize the right material. If we go back into our Zotero library, we can see that they did in fact save this as a web page, which I don't want. So let me go back and see if maybe I can change that. It also could be the ebook. Maybe this works. So maybe when I go into the actual ebook, this might have worked better. Let's see. No, still looks like it. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So it did save it as a book. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. If it saves it incorrectly, can you go in and just make manual changes so that, okay. So you don't necessarily have to, you just want to make sure that it saved it correctly.
Yeah.
But you can go in and just make the manual changes in this little sidebar.
Exactly. So if that's the case, maybe like this one, for instance, we can see it took like ProQuest ebook Central, which is the platform that the ebook is on. So if you see something like this, you might think, that doesn't really look right. So what you could do is you can either select this web page and change it to a book and then manually fill all this information in, or you can try to save it again. It's really up to you. But I would make sure that all of this information is updated and appears correct. For this one, if we look more at the description of the book details, we can see, we can get all of that information here. And for this one, it doesn't look like they have an author. It looks like it's more a book from the World Health Organization. So that might be something that World Health Organization here is the publisher. So again, just making sure that you're pulling in all of the information you need. Sometimes sometimes Zotero doesn't get everything. But I want to show you now how it works in action. And sometimes, when you're going and citing something with the browser extension, sometimes it can be a little bit wonky, but hopefully it hasn't been too confusing. Once you get into the rhythm of it, it hopefully will be a little bit easier as you go. And I want to see, oh yes, my training folder here. I want to add this over here, just so I have a couple other things we're going to include in our Word document right here. All right, so now if we want to start citing while we write, this is where the fun part comes in. So I've opened up my Word document, I've opened up my Zotero library. This is where I can start citing while I write. So again, I'm looking at primary care. Let's say I want to cite this. In my Word document, I'm going to go over to Zotero. And I have a few different items here on the menu bar. One thing I would recommend too is if you've just downloaded Zotero, I would recommend closing out or quitting Zotero, quitting Microsoft Word, and then opening them back up together. I don't know why, but sometimes it won't make the connection between the two resources until they've both been shut down, closed down, and opened back up again. So what I want to do now is click this Add Edit Citation. And this is where I can select the citation style that I want to use. So let's say I want to use APA. I can go ahead and click OK. And it pulls up this red Zotero bar for me. I can start typing in the article that I want to cite. So let's say I want to cite this one we just pulled in. I can go ahead and click that. I can click enter and it will add the citation in as I'm writing. So I can, continue writing my wonderful paper that is beautifully paraphrased thanks to Jen and all of her lovely guidance and advice. And let's say I want to add another piece here, right? So I can start my primary care as my search and bring in the articles that I want to cite here. So let's see. Sometimes you may need, I see primary care is right there. So we'll go ahead and click that. For this one, it was accidental, but I did cite two resources in the same kind of parentheses. That can happen sometimes if you're paraphrasing two similar ideas by two different authors. So what I did there was I just kind of kept typing. When I did my add edit, I can see I can add two things at once. So instead of, let's say I want to click this one, I keep typing here in this bar to cite something for a second time. We can go ahead and click this one. There we go. I want to double check the name of my book here so I can cite that. Okay, infection prevention. Great. All right, so my last piece here is going to be my infection prevention. And there we go. And so now what I want to do is, now that I've gotten most of my citations in there, I want to go ahead and click this next button, which is Add or Edit Bibliography. And so this is like where the magician piece comes in. This is when it will populate your bibliography for you and it'll be formatted correctly. So with the APA style, the in-text citation is alphabetical, the in-text citation is the author name in the year, and the bibliography or the reference list is alphabetical by author. It is double spaced and it has this hanging indent. So if you want to change the citation style, that often happens if you start writing in one style because you're not quite sure the right style to use, or maybe you look again at the syllabus and you say, "Oh my goodness, I have to cite this in AMA." Do not worry, it happens. If you go up here to Document Preferences, this is where this is kind of the first prompt that we got. You can go ahead and change the citation style. So we can switch it over to AMA. We can click OK. It takes just a moment and see we've got our superscript numbers here, and then our citation list is numbered. They don't have a hanging indent or any double space. It's just the number and then the citation. So again, this is a really great citation style if you're writing a shorter manuscript or you're writing a shorter brief or something like that. This takes up a lot less room in the in-text citation. All right, I see the chat, a couple of things.
I have one here for you, Kristen. Yeah. First of all, does the bibliography show the date and article when a website was accessed? I think it does, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you add a citation in after you generate the bibliography, will it automatically insert the new citation and do the renumbering and update it?
Yep. It will. And let me go ahead and do this website that we cited so you can see what that looks like too. So this was, oh, I'll do this one, create bibliographies. We'll do the bibliographies. There we go. Come on. Yeah. So now that I've put this here, 4, or I think this was 4. This now becomes 5. That becomes 6. So it just shifts everything down for you, and it will put this one in here. Does that? So yes, it does do that for you. And in the website citation, it will say the date that it was accessed as well, which is something you really want to have included there, just so that if we are to go back, you know, maybe APA decides they're going to completely change the way that the in-text citations look, and this will give us that snapshot in time to say this is what it looked like September 18th. So yeah, it's really great. It will help kind of shift things down or up depending on when you might move a resource around. So yes, it does do that. Okay, great. And then book chapters. Yeah. So the nice part about the book chapter is when we had this book opened up, I believe it was this one. When we had the whole book opened, it looked like this. But then when we had, I believe, this one might not be a good one. I do want like a book chapter. Let me see what I can find. Go ahead and look at this. Also ProQuest. I don't want to do a ProQuest one. They're all going to be ProQuest. Here we go. This is a different one. So now let's say I want to go ahead and take a look at this book here. I may only be able to download this one. That's possible. Let's see. So I know when people open up a PDF in their Word, see how Zotero is not really recognizing that this is an ebook? I would not recommend citing an ebook when it has been opened as a PDF because it may not recognize the type of resource that it is. But usually you can go in and pick a chapter. Of course, I probably should have pre-selected some textbooks before so I could show you. But yes, in theory, you can cite the book chapter and it will just look like an open book, that little icon.
And at the very worst, you can always create entries manually. So if you have a whole book that it's pulled in, but you want it chapter by chapter, and for whatever reason that's getting a little too confusing for you, you can just create, you know, an entry for the chapters that you want in particular.
Yeah, and to add something yourself, similarly to the little plus sign for the folder, it's the same one over here. So you can select the resource that it is and manually add. So if I click book, I can add all this information in myself.
So there's one other question here. Is there a place in Zotero to take notes or pull quotes on certain citations? And then can you search those notes if that's possible?
There is some functionality there. You can create some tags for yourself, but again, this is very like what works for you and what and how much you want to put in the Zotero. So for instance, if I wanted to, let me see if I can add a note here for myself. So maybe I'll say, it looks like my note can be actually right here. So I can say, you know, resource guide on citation managers like Zotero from BU libraries. There we go. So yes, you can do that. You can also, for instance, I have to go back into a different folder here, but if I were, not that one. This one, for instance, it was able to pull the PDF in. So another thing you can do is you can leave notes for yourself here. You can highlight, you can leave a note or a comment and say, use quote, you know, whatever it is, and then you can come back and look at those things. So there's a lot that you can do in here. It really just depends on kind of how much you'd like to do, I'd say.
So thank you. Camden says, thank you. I should have been using this years ago, but now you're going to start using it now. So I'm always astonished when I meet students who are in their last semester here, and I find that they're still doing their sources manually. So you are in the right place because you're starting now. So there's no time like the present. Okay, so we only have about 4 minutes until it becomes 1:50. That's completely fine because we had some great questions. If you're able to stay a little later, I'm happy to stay on, and we'll, you know, do this part about Turnitin Draft Coach is really quick, and we can spend some time answering questions too. But so now what I wanted to show you is what to do if you have cited, you know, you've written your paper or you have a draft of your paper and you're not sure if your paraphrasing is enough in your own words. You know, you're worried that you have too much there that's still verbatim. And so what I want to show you is there are a couple different ways that you can check your documents for this. Grammarly is a paid subscription-based kind of thing that you can use. Word may have something, I'm not sure about that, but here at BU we have, and I'm going to start sharing my screen. And let's see, I am going to, I hope, be able to show you. So are you seeing my Google Drive? Yeah, okay, great. So, you know, everybody here at BU has access through your BU email and your Kerberos to Google Drive and Google Docs. And so all you have to do is log into Google Drive with that information and say I have written a paper and I wrote it on my, you know, on my laptop, and now I want to check it in Turnitin Draft Coach. So say I uploaded it as a Word doc. So I'm going to open this Word doc, and this is not a paper, but it has text in it, and that's all that matters right now. So this is something I wrote. I uploaded it as a Word doc. And now what I want to do is I want to go over here to File, and I want to save it as a Google Doc. And then when I save it as a Google Doc, I can go to Extensions, and it's going to ask, it has Turnitin Draft Coach. If you don't see Turnitin Draft Coach, then you may just need to go up here to Add-ons and have it download that. But this is something that you do have access to here at BU. And there we go. And then you'll see that it gives me these various options. I'm not going to actually do this on my document right now, but it will walk you through the process. I'm going to show you the end point. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to take us back to the slides. So okay, so here you see successfully paraphrasing sources. When writing, it's important to incorporate information from your sources in your own words. Here is a link to the Turnitin Draft Coach site that kind of helps you understand what it is that it's helping you do. Grammarly is just another resource. But here's an example of, this is from a real student paper. And this student gave me permission to use it as an example because she hadn't had much experience with paraphrasing before she came to BU. And so the first time around when she was working on her first draft, she submitted this to Draft Coach. And you'll see that basically what it does is it gives you an originality score. And an originality score, basically it just looks at how many of your words, and sort of clumps of your words match up to other words in other places. And so basically what it's saying here is that almost 50% of her paper was not necessarily in her own words, that she hadn't thoroughly paraphrased enough. So what it does is you can go over here on the side and you see all this different color coding. It will show you kind of where you've slipped up or where you have too much verbatim text from. So it will take you there and it will show you where it is that they're finding that. And then that can help you to say, oh, okay, now I just need to sort of with this pink part or with this more reddish part, go in and work on the wording. So it helps you just kind of break it down. And this is something that you can do. You can do it as you're working, but I would say, get a more or less complete draft or finish a section and then do this. And, I think you can do it multiple times with the same draft. And you can, if it limits you, then you could probably always just change the name of the draft too. But I think it's an unlimited kind of thing. So she went and she did her revisions, and this is the same passage and it's just 12%. And sometimes the things that it pulls in are like, it pulls in book titles, it pulls in the names of people, like anything that matches up verbatim. So some of it just doesn't really matter at all. Some of it really does matter. And so where you want to be is usually around 10 or 15%. Depending on what it is that it's showing you, kind of is in your originality report. So this is definitely something that you can play around with. And I wish you luck. If you have any trouble with it, I'm not a total master at it, but I can try to be helpful with it. And yeah, I think before we move on to questions, I think we should go to Mary, your question about, I think it was the citing sources, right? So I'm going to go to
I called mine.
Sorry, yeah, I had saved the website and I thought I was following along, but then when I got to the citing your sources, mine didn't have the same. Mine only has APA, MLA, Chicago, and so I don't know if I'm not on the medical library or just something was different. So I was curious if you could go walk through that again.
Okay, so I think if what you're talking about is if you can you, oh, you might not be able to see this. Let me yeah, I'm still in these slides, so let me get out of these. And now let me reshare my screen. Okay, so, oops. So I think this is what you're talking about. We were on the Writing Resource Center. And so this is the library website. And then Kristen, where were you when you were looking at?
Yeah, if you go to using and citing sources on the left-hand side, it's under advertising.
Oops.
And then if you scroll down to the library's full citation information guide, it's on like that second box. So there's, yeah, it's in the like text part. This
part?
Yep.
Okay. Ah, okay.
Yeah, so you may have been on the main libraries page, especially if it had MLA, that was probably the BU libraries. So again, it's tough because we do have our own website, but I would recommend trying to do everything through Alumni Medical Library's website, just so that if you do have questions, you will reach out directly to us. They have some similar Ask a Librarian features, but it goes over to their librarians, and it might take them a little bit to get it sent over to us. So just for the faster connection, I would start on our page.
Okay, and so here just to walk you through it again, using and citing sources, and then you just click here,
Mhm.
and then it's got that.
Yeah,
So,
it's also in our subject list. So if you go at the very top of our menu bar
mhm.
under subjects, it's also there. If you scroll down to the C's, that's probably a quicker way to get there.
So see
That's
citation
the first
information.
one right there. Mhm.
Oh, look at that.
Mhm.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, and we do have a few minutes for questions if you have some. Yes, you will get a recording. I will send, Kristen will have a recording that she'll post on the resource page that we were just showing you. I'll send this to all of your core course instructors, or specifically, yeah, I send it to all of them, but I always ask the PH 720 people to post it specifically. So you should get it through them. And if you don't get it for some reason, just let me know and I'll be happy to email it to you. So other questions? There was a lot to throw at you at one time. And I think that having the recording to be able to go back through, I'll also include the transcript, which may also be helpful, just in terms of skimming, so you can see where you need to go to in the recording. But just sort of, I think, knowing about the resource guide, knowing about Zotero and more or less how it works, and then basically just playing around with it when it's not like in the moment, you're in an emergency situation where you need to turn that paper in an hour, that like do it when you have some free time and start building I think one of the things that was a big barrier for me, this is a very long time ago because I've been using this kind of software for a long time, but when I was first making the change, I was having a hard time just getting my mind wrapped around saving things into, saving my sources as I found them and knew that I wanted them or wanted to keep track of them into Zotero or Mendeley or whatever it was that I was using. So I think that's also a best practice, is as you're researching and you find things that you like, just, make sure that you save them. You can always get rid of them later. And that really can help you track things. So anything else? All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, and we hope this is helpful, and we will maybe see you back here, or I will. I don't think Kristen's going to be joining me to talk about all the joys and challenges of public health writing. Bye-bye. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you. Take care.